Good morning. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with Facebook lately. My phone is horizontal, and I put it on, and it says, and I start it just like I've always started it, and then it says, sorry, you can't rotate your phone while doing a video. Well, I wasn't rotating it. I was not rotating my phone. Okay, here's the vase. I'm going to hold it up and do it this way. Here's the vase that from Goodwill that had the glaze on it. That paint was not going to stick to that. So it would have scratched off later. So yesterday, and I've not done this before to test it, so you're going to see what I'm going to see. Yesterday I put on a coat of Dixie Belle Slick Stick, which is supposed to go on slick surfaces and make the paint be able to stick to it. So there's the scratch test, and I'm not being gentle. You can probably hear that scratching, and it didn't scratch off. Yay! So it's ready. So the color that I'm painting the furniture for the bedroom that this is going to go in, look, there is a scratch right there, but that looks more like a drip. I didn't do that this morning. I must have done that with the brush yesterday. I'm not going to worry about that little bitty place. But anyways, I'm painting this. This is my Goodwill find, and I wanted a tall vase that I could put a cottagey, flowy flower arrangement in to go in my bedroom that's being based around the quilt my husband got me a few years ago at Cracker Barrel. You know what? You never know where your inspiration's going to come from. But yesterday somebody said, oh, I want to make sure and see when you put the paint on it and keep up with that project. So I thought I would, before work this morning, go ahead and put the first coat of paint on there. And this is DIY, and I don't know if that's crinoline or crinoline. I'm going to say crinoline. It's probably crinoline. But that's the color that I'm using on the furniture in there, so I'm gonna use the same color. And my curtains came in that I ordered yesterday. I ordered them from a company that I've never even heard of called A Touch of Class. And they're so thin, I don't know. They're made out of lace. They look exactly how I want them to look. And I probably need new curtain rods, but you can look through there and see a beautiful view down our driveway and everything. So maybe I will leave it that way, but I always, like to have them, thicker curtains. So I'm thinking that I'm going to put something behind them or something like that, because the actual look to the bedroom of antique lace and everything is what I thought would go good with the direction that I'm going with everything else in there. And I forgot to wet my brush. And what do you do when you forget to wet your brush? With this clay-based paint, I like to have a wet brush. I'm going to pour some water in this little bitty lid right here. Here we go. This is what I would do. Get a little bit of water. This is one of the Paint Pixie brushes. This is the number 8, the smaller one. They absorb a lot of paint and water anyway. So, that's freaking awesome, actually. I just filled that cap up, and this is a pretty good size cap. Just filled that cap up with water, and this thing just soaked it up like a sponge. I'm wondering if I should do that twice. We're going to see. If I need to do it again, I'll do it again. Okay, and now I'm doing that thing that you never do, dipping directly down into my container. I'm not worried about contaminating that paint, because I'm going to be using that whole container anyways over my project. So just let me get busy getting this on here while I'm jacking my jaws. I haven't exactly decided whether I was going to use wax or a glaze or exactly what I'm going to use. There's a lot of really good, nice detail in this piece, which is why I thought it would, before it was more like old world looking, which, has its place and was very nice. I'm sure it looked nice in whose ever home it came from before it got brought to Goodwill. But, anyways, the look that I'm going for of the more cottage and antique and old looking and all that kind of stuff calls for a more white or off-white. But I still want to bring out the details in it. And I can either use a glaze for that or a wax. And knowing me, I planned on doing a glaze on the nightstand that goes with this, but I ended up going with a wax instead. So that's very quite possibly. I've never tried to wax on anything shaped like this, so that might be a little bit of a challenge too. And the whole point is I do want it to match or go with. I should have used that French tip brush. This is showing up here on the part of my phone where like the words are at the bottom, and it looks like it's dark. So there's another light. So I apologize if that's too dark for y'all. But anyways, I'm going to put 2 coats of paint on here. I'm trying to get into the crevices good. And I've never tried to wax on this type of surface, but it does have that slick stick underneath it. So I'm just slapping this on here like I got good sense. I'm going to try to get inside that handle a little bit. Which would be a darker area anyway, so that's also not a big deal. But I do want to do it anyway. I hope it looks as good as I think it will. I went on, Michael's had some coupons yesterday, so I went on to Michael's thinking, you know, because where I live, it's like over an hour to get to your closest Hobby Lobby or Michael's. There's no place near here to get, you know, really nice flowers, and I am going to invest in some nice flowers. I'm not going to be sticking Dollar Tree flowers in my Goodwill vase. Once I redo it, I'm going to want good flowers in there, and then it makes it look like the whole thing was expensive. But of course, I also want to do it when they have their flowers on 50% off, or I have a good coupon, because even though I want nicer flowers, that doesn't mean I'm just going to go waste my money when I know they're going to be on sale. So I will be, and I don't even know where you look for that at. I guess I'll go to their website each week till I find it, and then hope I can make the trip an hour away to go get it. But anyway, so I went on Michaels.com last night, and every set of flowers that I found, that just doing the quick search term cottage flowers and roses, came up with like bridal bouquet type, and some of them had some hydrangeas and some peonies and some different things in them, and they were gorgeous, and any of them would have done, but they would have been short out the top of my vase. And here's another tip for you from my florist years. The way to determine the height of your tallest flower when you're making a flower arrangement is the height of your vase. So this vase is about 12 inches tall, so I'm going to want my flowers to come out at least 12 inches and up to 24 inches. So you can go 1 to 2 times the height of your vase with your flowers. So that's going to be, I'm possibly going to go way up there. I'm probably going to go about 18 inches. So none of those little arrangements had any tall flowers in it. And even though I'm going to have a bunch grouped around here at the bottom because that's the cottage look, I'm still going to want a few taller and springy things coming out of it. And here's the kicker on that. If you've not went on there and looked, they want you to buy a dozen of everything, or at least a half dozen of everything. And, you know, they're like, oh, here's this one. It's $11.99. You put it in your cart and it's $71.98. And I'm like, I'm not spending $71.98 even with the 40% off coupon on flowers to go in a vase in the spare that I got at Goodwill in my spare bedroom. Now, call me cheap if you want to. I don't mind. It probably won't be the first time. But I still want high quality things. I want them to look nice. I don't mind putting a little working elbow grease in there to do my part of it. I actually think that's part of the good part that makes it special is that if it's up in this house, I done put my touch to it. And I think I got everywhere. It's hard to see with these lights shining on me and I think, you know, y'all probably heard me say before about after my eye surgery, I can't see, and when there's out of the right eye, and I do have a contact in there right now to use as like a crutch while I'm healing. But when light shines in my eye, it scatters every different direction and makes it hard to see. So having the light on so that you can see makes me not be able to see. And I think right here, looking at this, from looking at it through the camera there, there's no need for me to paint the inside of this, but what if we can see just a tad of it, you know, through the flowers. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit in there just for the sake of doing it. But I'm also wondering right now, because it was glazed in there too, how this paint would be sticking had I not used that slick stick. And I can tell you, and I'll see if I can find a place to grab this and hold it up to show you. Can you see in there already where I just put that little bit of paint? It's gonna take a second or a third coat, and I don't think it's gonna stick. So I think it was smart that, you know, you hear from so many different people. I watch so many different furniture painters and decorative painters, because that's what I enjoy doing, who say, oh, this is a, you know, a chalk paint or a clay-based paint. Just slap it on there. No prep. You don't need to prep. And then you hear the other ones who are like, I've been painting my entire life, and you have got to prep, because good prep gives you a good piece afterwards. And they spend a week prepping, you know, and cleaning with TSP, and then cleaning the TSP off, and sanding over the other edges, and then putting a shellac over the areas that they sanded, and then putting a coat of primer on, then waiting 36 hours and putting another coat of primer on. Then they put on 2 coats of their good paint. Then they put on 2 coats or 3 coats or 5 coats, sanding in between each one on their sealer. Well, somewhere in between those two extremes of, hey, I don't prime anything, you don't have to, and prep is the world, lies me. I'm going to prep a little bit because I don't want to waste my time doing this and have it come off later. Sure, I can slap a coat of paint on here. Obviously, you just saw me do it in there without using any primer. It looks like crap already. Already you can see through there, and it's going to frustrate me. I'm going to have to do this 2 or 3 times, and then if later on I was to come back and scratch that, I would be so mad at myself. So I'm not going to put 2 or 3 coats of primer on there. And I didn't TSP this thing. I would have if it was a piece of furniture, which is trisodium phosphate, which is a real good cleaning detergent, is what that is, if you're wondering. But anyways, and I do use that on some, you know, old antique or smoky or dirty or whatever pieces of furniture that I, you know, buy off of Facebook Marketplace or whatever. But on this, I didn't. Just cleaned it with a rag and used the stuff. But anyways, somewhere in between those extremes lies me, and I don't want this to scratch later on. I don't want to have wasted all my time. So if there's a, you know, a safe primer out there and a safe way to clean, there's also, I bought at Walmart, non-TSP, TSP substitute, something that's safer or something, and I bought that, and I don't know if it does as good. It's a blue looking liquid in a bottle, and it's all they had, and I bought it, and then I got home and I found my TSP, which is a powder that I mix up. So I used that on the last piece. But anyway, I'm gonna do what makes sense. This had a glaze on it, and I know what's gonna happen. It's slick and it's gonna scratch off. So if this had been laminate, if this had been glass, if this had been glazed like it was, it needs some kind of primer to make sure the paint's going to stick. I just really feel like it does. And there's, you know, plenty of people that come tapping my lid back on that can prove me wrong. You know, if they want with their pieces, but on my pieces, I'm going to prep a little bit. So I did. So here it is today, and I already believe it looks more cottagey than it did. I don't know how much, there you go, of that you can put on there. I'm probably gonna still put another coat of paint on here. It's really looking like old broken clay, and I really like the way it looks. But I'm probably gonna slap another coat of this same exact paint on here tonight whenever I get home from work. And then if I can control myself, I'll wait till tomorrow morning and we'll wax it. If not, as soon as that stuff's dry, I'm going to be popping some wax on there. Or at least probably what I will do will be put, because I still want it, I don't want it to be glossy looking. So, and I know that, you know, every company makes something, and I'm not a company commercial right now. I used Dixie Belle Slick Stick underneath here. I just painted this with, DIY paint, and I love the DIY paint, and I love the Dixie Belle paint, but I'm probably going to use Junk Monkey's banana peel, which is a matte top coat, and I think Dixie Belle has one, but I already have one opened by Junk Monkey, and I love it, so why not use it? It's what I used on the furniture piece. So once I get the second coat of paint on here and get it dry, because you don't want to top coat while that paint is still wet, because if you do, it could bubble up underneath later and have splotchiness because of the moisture that the top coat's holding underneath it. So I'm gonna let this paint dry, but this stuff dries quick anyway. I'm gonna put on a thin coat, let that dry. I'm gonna put on a coat of banana peel because it's matte and I don't want this thing shiny. And then after that, I'm going to probably go back to Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in Brown, and because that's what I used on the table, and put that on here, and we'll see how that goes. So I sell all of those brands because I believe they're all good, and a lot of people believe you should be dedicated to one. And if there was one, if DIY had the Slick Stick, and if they had purple paint, I never would have bought Dixie Belle to begin with. And if I would have had a really good matte top coat from any other company, then I wouldn't have ordered from Junk Monkey. So sometimes, and it's the same thing like with my acrylic paints, sometimes I want the golden in those fluids, and sometimes I want the Liquitex in the heavy body. But most of the time, if you ask me what brand I use the most, I'm going to say Blick, and because it's a reasonably priced good paint, and I do. So that's where I stand with this, and you can expect me to be honest with y'all and not be trying to sell you stuff. So I'm going to recommend what I use and tell you why. And if you have questions, or if you want to use something else, or you want to, if all I had was some leftover Sherwin-Williams paint in a jug, I would have taken some plaster of Paris and stirred in there with it and had at it in the same way. I would not let not having any of this stuff slow me down. So that's my tip for you to the day. But this is my favorite as far as the paint, and it was hard to get used to. Now I love it. And so those are my tips to you, and I will talk to you soon. Oh, I can't. Great. Oh, thank you, Tammy. I appreciate that. So watch, and I'm going to pop on next time I have a minute. And that's, somebody said to me yesterday, how do you get it all done? Because when I have them, I want it done. I'm so excited about how pretty this is going to look. So when I have a second, I don't have to have 3 hours to sit down and go from start to finish on this. When I have 10 minutes, I'm going to pop in here and I'm going to pop a coat on there. And then sooner or later, I'm going to be done. And sooner than later, because I'm putting in all these little bits of time. I'm also that girl with my apron on and paint on my hands. I don't know how pretty girls do all that stuff where they can get in here and make it all look good and they don't have a thing all over them. I'm in here elbow deep. I probably got it, almost always do have it on my elbows. Elbow deep. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your day. Talk to you soon. Bye.